Welcome back to another episode of Doing Philosophy, where I'm focusing on epistemology, part of the lecture series, my course on epistemology. Today, I want to continue my look into John Locke. Previously, I ended right here. I ended with the idea that he gave us a definition that works really well with common sense. But beyond that, Locke went deeper. He tried to apply in detail, give examples of how this definition would apply in detail. When he did that, some interesting things emerged. Some interesting understanding about his theory emerged. Look at any object in the world. Look at any object in the world. Object can be seen through their qualities. Their qualities are primary qualities and secondary qualities. Primary qualities deal with the solidity, the dimension, the shape, the size, the weight of an object. And the secondary qualities deals with the color, the sound, the smell, and the taste. We have different names for these things because they are different. The primary qualities captures things that deals a lot with mathematical, geometrical concepts, things that we can agree on. We can agree on the shape is square, it's rectangular, it's a pyramid, it weighs 200 pounds. There's so much agreement on the primary qualities. When you look at the secondary qualities, however, you get in the domain that we can see is red, but some people say it's maroon. Or someone may say it's even pink. I see blue, and I'm corrected and told it's baby blue. All right. There's a lot of subjective element to the sound, the color, and shape of things because there seem to be properties of the object. Whereas the primary qualities give you the structure, the fundamental structure and weight of and quantity of that particular object. Primary setting qualities are like that. You should be able to recognize the distinction between them. Interestingly, Locke sees this distinction, and Descartes talks about these distinctions. Okay, and Locke says the primary qualities being more significant, more real, they actually have the power to produce secondary qualities. So the shape and color and shape of an object produces the secondary qualities. Does that make sense? Let's see if I look into my office space here and I take up a manila folder as an example, right? And I say, this particular thing has a primary quality, this rectangular shape. And I say, metaphysically, in the real world, in my world, what color is this thing? Locke would say, well, this thing doesn't have a color itself in the real world. What happened is that the primary qualities, this rectangular shape, has a power to produce the secondary qualities in my mind. What the heck did he just say? Huh? The primary qualities has the power to produce the secondary qualities? What is that about, right? It seems strange and bizarre, but it really goes back to the philosopher's issue with abstract quantities. When we say properties, are these properties exist? Does the shape of an object exist? Does the weight exist? Does the height exist? Or is something else beyond that? These are qualities. We could say the same sort of thing about the color and sound. Does the color red exist independent of any cloth, any wall, or any paint? There is an abstractness to these that leads to these kind of conclusions. In any case, this is the reason why we're going to have the next philosopher, George Berkeley and David Hume, who sense this problem in empiricism and try to make a better version of it. Furthermore, Locke also gets in a bit of a problem, all right? He realized he can't have qualities floating in the air. You can't have shape and colors without something to rest on. So he postulated there must be a fundamental substance. He said it's matter. But then, being a true empiricist, he realized I don't experience matter. I experience the shape and color of things. I know their shape, I know the color and things like that. But I don't really experience matter. So I can't say I know empirically that matter exists. That turned out to be a big problem, a real big problem for Locke, okay? And for the whole quest in empiricism, and it also affects science. Let me look at this from a different angle. Let me look at it from inside the mind so you could see the problem more clearly. If you go inside the mind and you assume the mind begins at tabula rasa or blank slate, Locke asked the question, how comes it to be filled? How come we feel bad with all the wonderful things we have inside our mind? He says it's through experience. The world from the world we experience these primary qualities. These primary qualities have a power to produce things inside of our mind, these empirical ideas. Out in the world, now this is what he's saying. Out in the world, when you see the manila folder, okay, when you look at into the manila folder, let me get off my desk here. When you look at the manila folder, totally unplanned, you're going to see the shape and you're going to see the color. But this is what he wants you to believe. He wants you to believe, look at the PowerPoint now. He wants you to believe this, that those secondary qualities that you're seeing in the world are only a property in the mind. It's like there's an optical illusion. The shape is out there for real, but the color is only in your mind. It's like an optical illusion. What you have in the world is that the primary qualities have a power to produce those secondary qualities. They have the power to produce it in your mind. It's an optical illusion. George Berkeley, the next philosopher we need to discuss, is not going to agree with this at all, and he's going to come and correct this. Even David Hume going to have a modification on Berkeley's interpretation. There is a problem there. There's a problem. Maybe deeper explanation needed, but there is a problem. That there's an optical illusion. And we are very familiar with optical illusions. So if you go deep into science, this is the idea. It's not going to look wrong. Deep science is going to agree with a lot of what Locke is saying here. I'm talking about modern science with quantum mechanics and everything else. It's going to agree with Locke. This is not an idea all gone to the side. This is an idea that before the rise of science that you know it today, before the rise of psychology, as you know it today. So these people are world-class geniuses in their own right. Again, he still had the problem with the fundamental substance. But let me go a little further on this side here. I'm going to say, let's look what's going on inside your mind, right? Inside the mind, you have ideas of primary qualities. And this is a challenge that I find. If the primary qualities exist both outside and inside the mind, come on, why is that fair? You know, the shape exists outside, but now there's a version of it inside the mind. That is just so unfair. You know, why is it so unfair? Think about it. Maybe we all don't have to be fair, but I'm just bringing this fairness argument to make my point, all right? But the secondary qualities, they're not out there. They're only in the mind. You see, why is it like that? I experienced both of them, but somehow one is in my mind. Now, this is still objective. He didn't say you make up the color, the sound, and smell. He's saying that the thing out there sends it into your mind, like seeing something. You walk in a room, you see a woman with a red dress. You do not make up the red dress or the woman. That object is appearing inside your vision, in your vision. Okay, and so you experience the idea of them inside your mind. You don't make it up. The problem is, if the object is going to produce the color, why doesn't it produce the shape too? So that in the real world, you have to put the color and the shape. That's what I'm saying. I'm arguing against Locke, so you could see the problem that's involved here. Lastly, Locke realized, and he writes a chapter really, when he tried to deal with the idea of matter. He argues and argues, you can't have shape and colors floating in the air. They must rest on something. We call this thing matter. But he writes, this is a vague and obscure idea. And what does that mean? I look in the world, I see a golden cube. All right? Metaphysically, I say the cube is really in the world by its shape, its weight, dimension. But the color that I observe outside is really inside my mind. But one thing for certain, I know with certainty the shape, the color, I know the primary and secondary qualities. I have knowledge, empirical knowledge of this object. But inside my mind here, I think of the object as existing. It exists outside my mind, but I say it's made of matter. How do I know that? I do not have experience of that. It's a vague, obscure idea. So inside the head, when you have the cube in there, you have an idea it's made of matter, but that is not grounded on real sense experience. As a consequence, it's a vague and obscure idea. I think John Locke is truly the father of modern empiricism because he captures the nature of empiricism. It only goes as far as your senses, I'm talking about human senses, allows. Beyond that, you have to let go empirical claims about reality. This is going to be traumatic for many people in science and some in philosophy as well, because this is a challenge to empiricism. If you want to know from the external, you could only go so far because your senses, human senses, only go so far. So when you have this definition here, empirical knowledge, a person knows X if and only if he or he has a direct experience of X. It's great. It works day to day, common sense, no problem. As I mentioned before, Plato and Aristotle, they're design guys. Descartes concerned about his own attitude toward that thing, right? So if I had a yellow Lamborghini, right, Locke would definitely have knowledge that that's a Lamborghini, but only Plato gonna raise the question: how do I know it's a real Lamborghini? I need to contact the manufacturers and get a copy of the blueprint. All right. Aristotle come to the Lamborghini and say, wait a second, how do I authenticate it's genuine? It doesn't matter what the manufacturer has there. I need to reverse engineer this car to figure out if it was actually used. Empiricism cannot give you that type of knowledge. It cannot give you that knowledge. This is a bona fide form of knowledge, a different type of knowledge, and I want to appreciate it for itself, that it does give you empirical knowledge, but there are other aspects of knowledge about any object that need to be discussed.